So one thing I've realized is a lot of people associate their personal brand to imaging. They think that their brand is basically their logo or their brand colors or the images that they post online. And those are components of your brand. Those are the visual aspects of your brand. And while they are important, your brand honestly is just the associations that people have when they think about you or when your name comes to mind. That means that you already have a personal brand even without trying, but you can be more intentional about what you put out into the world so that you do have an influence or an impact on what people think about you. So one of the first things that you can do when trying to build your personal brand is reverse engineering. You're going to work backwards. You're going to start first from your core values, your why, and your mission statement, and pretty much think about how you can make sure that whatever you are putting out through your content, that it's representing these core values. You also want to get crystal clear on what you want to be known for. It's not a good idea to be doing a millions of different things because then people aren't going to have any idea on what they should affiliate you with. If you do makeup, but then you also sell skincare, but then you also have a book that you're putting out. If you're doing too many things at once, people have no idea what they should be going to you for. You want it to be one set and specific thing that people know that, okay, if I go to her page, I'm going to get the best relationship advice. Or if I go on this page, I'm going to get all the information that I need to know on how to prepare my taxes. Being known for one specific thing is the best way to give yourself an edge as far as putting your brand out there. Once you're clear on the impact you want to have and you know exactly what you want to be known for, you're going to use this as a guideline for all the content that you put out and make sure that it is aligned with what you set out to do in the first place. The next thing you want to do is be consistent with your message. You want to be so consistent with your message that it almost starts to seem very repetitive. So your message tells people how you can help them. People need to know right away what they can get out of you. That sounds really bad, but think about it. Nobody really cares about who you are until you make them care. They have to know that they can receive something of value from you or that you can help them in some way before they become interested or invested in what you have to offer. So when you are consistent with your message, that's what people are going to associate you with. So what happens is people will say things like, okay, I'm going to follow her because she gives really great advice when it comes to preparing your taxes, and this is something that I need help with. So if I follow her, I know I'm going to receive the best tips when it comes to that specific thing. Now, to be consistent with your message, you have to know what your message is in the first place. So going back to tip number one, you want to think about, first of all, what you want to be affiliated with, like what kind of impact you want to have, what you want people to think of when your name comes up. But you also want to think about what you specifically can help people with, what you can help them accomplish. Now, the next thing you want to do is be consistent with your communication. In other words, show up for your audience consistently. Do not go ghost on your people because you want to stay top of mind. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to be posting content every single day. In fact, some of the worst advice, in my opinion, that some people get is that they need to post every single day, multiple times a day, because that's how they can increase their followers, that's how they can grow their brand, and that's how they can make the most money. First of all, when you do this or when you are told to post this often, it puts a lot of pressure on you to show up everywhere all the time. And what happens is you start to focus on quantity instead of quality. If you don't have something important or of value to say, don't share anything. Instead, you want to focus on creating high value content, even if it's only once per week. Again, it's more important to focus on creating impactful content instead of trying to hit a certain number because that will definitely cheapen your brand. And you don't want people to just say, okay, this girl be putting out garbage. And you also don't want to just be putting out fluff content just for the sake of it, because what happens is people will stop checking for your content when you post. If people know that everything you put out is high value, they're going to make sure that every time you post something that they are coming back to see what you are sharing. If you don't have an email list, make sure that you build one so that you can consistently send out your email newsletters so that you are continuously building that relationship with your audience even when you aren't present on social media. Now, the fourth thing is you want to think about what the experience is like with you outside of social media, because that affects your brand as well. So you might do a very good job at being super polished on Instagram, or being real cute on YouTube, or just making sure that you always look good and that you're always on point when you're on social media. But what is it like when people meet you in person? Are you just as nice? Are you just as bubbly? Your in-person interactions do play a major role. Remember that. You don't want for people to think that you're amazing when they see you on social media, but when you see them, or when they see you in person, now they're disappointed by what they get. Because the one thing that you'll realize quickly is that negative news travels fast, and people are quicker to say something negative than they are to say something positive. So if they have a negative experience with you, they're going to tell their friend, their friend's friend, their homeboy, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, whatever. They're going to tell everybody. And that's not the kind of information that you want spreading about you. You also want to make sure that you are managing your customer experience. Make sure that the experience that you create for your clients or your customers is on point. There's nothing worse than buying from a brand or working with somebody and realizing that their customer service is just terrible and that they don't know how to deal with people. Remember, like I said before, bad news travels fast. It's harder to come back from bad reviews. On the other hand, if people have a good experience with you, they're going to rave about you and tell their friends. And if they're telling their friends, now you are also building your audience, building your client base just off of the strength of a referral. So some things you want to think about is, how seamless is the process when someone inquires about working with you? Or when somebody actually decides that they do want to work with you, what is your process like when it comes time for them to pay you? Are you going to try to send them the Cash App or Venmo or Zelle? You want to have an organized process when it comes to accepting payments, sending out contracts, onboarding clients. You also want to make sure that you have set guidelines when it comes to communicating with your clients. What is the communication like? What is the best way for them to reach you? All those things need to be laid out, because if they email you and you don't respond for 48 hours and they get upset, that's your fault, because you didn't tell them that your turnaround time was about 48 hours. So the next thing that you want to do when trying to build your personal brand is to think about the name itself. Personal. It's okay to get a little personal with the content that you create, the content that you put out, because people make their decisions based off of emotions. People want to buy from other people that they feel connected to, that they feel like they know, that they feel like they like, and that they feel like they trust. It's okay to give people a glimpse into the person behind the work. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to share every single aspect of your life, but you can think about what things you can share that will help to create a deeper bond or deeper relationship with your audience. For example, if you love dogs and you share that you love dogs, your audience members that love dogs as well are going to be like, oh my God, she likes dogs just like I do. Now, it doesn't seem like it matters, but trust me, it does, because in a world where people are seeking to belong and feel like they fit in, this makes all the difference. So you can think about what things you can share that are aligned with your core values. So for example, I'm all about transparency and authenticity. So I'm not afraid to show up not looking the most polished. Now, if you've seen my stories on Instagram, you know this. Sometimes I have some posts where my hair is not done or where I don't look my best. And that's because I'm trying to stray away from that false image of perfection that so many people strive for on social media, because that's not real. And I don't want to be putting out anything that is not real. I'm also not afraid to share my journey when I'm struggling, when I'm going through things, or when times are getting hard, because guess what? That's life. We all go through things, and I know that it can have a positive impact on the other people who may be struggling or trying to juggle the same things. So don't try to sell this fake lifestyle or try to look like you are living your best life all the time. Instead, try to offer something of value. You don't want to be that page that people feel like they need to take a mental health break from. Instead, you want to be that page that people are constantly coming back to because you help them achieve something. or you want to be that page that people come back to because they feel motivated looking at you and knowing that if they try and put in the same kind of work that you put in, that maybe they can achieve the same things. My favorite example is Gary Vee. He's really wealthy, but his pages are not just a display of his wealth or his fortune. Now, the problem today is so many people are using social media just to inflate their own ego, and you don't want to be that person. Now, if you do, go ahead, do your thing, but this is not the video for you. We are not aiming to have, or we shouldn't aim to have, superficial influence. We actually want to be helping people achieve something or helping people feel good. Now, the one thing that I feel is very important to say is do not be afraid to be polarizing. So many times people want to play it safe because they want to make sure that they don't offend anyone or that they're saying things that are agreeable to everyone because they want to be agreeable to everyone. And that's not the route that you want to go in when you want to build a personal brand. It is okay for you to repel people, and actually you do want to get in the habit of repelling people, because what happens is when you repel the people who are not for you, you really start to attract the people who are for you. The more you get the people who don't belong to go away, the more you start to build that tribe with the people who are really supposed to be in your community. So if you follow each of these steps, you'll realize that building your personal brand is not that difficult when you are intentional about the way that you step out into the world. So let me know in the comments which point did you resonate with the most. And make sure that you're subscribed, because I'll be releasing videos every week to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward when it comes to your business.